his and vendetta against the Jews? I said, oh, this is too much. He said, look at Psalm 39. I will keep my mouth with a bridle while the wicked is before me. I was dumb with silence. I held my peace even from good, and my sorrow was stirred. My heart was hot within me while I was musing. The fire burned. Then spake I with my tongue, Lord, make me to know mine end and the measure of my days. She said, doesn't that sound like 1939 when Hitler started World War I and started moving the Jews off to the death camps? And the Jews, they didn't know how to speak up for themselves. They had a bad press, and the government was spouting out all this anti-Semitic stuff, and it was as if Israel said, I keep my mouth with a bridle. I'm afraid to speak out in my own behalf. It's not politically correct. I don't know what to do. I was dumb with silence. I held my peace. And then the Jew cries, Lord, make me to know mine end and the measure of my days. There is no happiness in that verse, only despair, as the Jews looked forward to death. Death in the concentration camps of Germany. By that time, I was almost beside myself. She said, look at Psalm 40. I am poor and needy, yet the Lord thinketh upon me. Thou art my help, my deliverer. Make no tarrying, O my God. He brought me up also out of the miry pit, a horrible pit, and out of the miry clay, and set my feet on the rock, and established my goings. Look at Psalm 41. Mine enemies speak evil of me. When shall he die, and his name perish? Verse 7, all that hate me whisper together against me. Against me do they devise my hurt. This sounds like 1941, in the middle of the Holocaust. Psalm 42, think of 1942. My tears have been my meat day and night, while they continually say unto me, where is thy God? You know, I looked in a Jewish commentary on this Psalm 42, by Rabbi Abraham Chaim Feuer. And he told the story of something that happened in 1942. He said the Jews in one little German community were taken outside of town and made to disrobe and dig their own pit. They got down in the pit, and then the German soldiers ringed the pit and pointed their rifles. And the rabbi of the synagogue led his congregation in the great Hashem. Hear, O Israel, the Lord thy God is one, and that thou shalt love the Lord thy God with all thy heart, with all thy soul. And one of the German officers laughed at him and said, where is your God? That's what this psalm says. My tears have been my meat day and night, while they continually say unto me, where is thy God? And Rabbi Feuer said, that day, the prophecy in Psalm 42 was fulfilled. In the woods, outside a little German community, the rabbi of that congregation looked up at the German officer who laughed and said, he is the same God you claim to worship. And someday you will stand before him. Psalm 42, fulfilled in 1942. I will say unto God, my rock. This is verse 9. Why hast thou forgotten me? There I saw a newspaper ad put out by the Jews. Some Jewish community service. And it showed the Holocaust, okay? And the title of that ad was, Where Was God? Wow. That's what this verse says. Why hast thou forgotten me? Listen to Psalm 43. Think of 1943. Judge me, O God, and plead my cause against an ungodly nation. I submit to you, Germany, an ungodly nation. Oh, deliver me from the deceitful and unjust man. I submit to you, Adolf Hitler, the deceitful and unjust man. And then there's Psalm 44. But thou hast cast off. Think of 1944. Thou hast cast off and put us to shame. Thou hast given us like sheep appointed for meat. Night and day the crematoriums burned Jewish bones. Night and day the smoke belched out over the German countryside. Thou makest us a byword among the Gentiles. All this has come upon us. Verse 22, yea, for thy sake are we killed all the day long. We are counted as sheep for the slaughter. Awake, why sleepest thou, O Lord? Arise, cast us not off forever. That's Psalm 44. Think of 1944. And by the way, in 1944, God heard that prayer. For it was just a few months later, in April of 1945, that Adolf Hitler put a gun to his brain and blew his own brains out. Psalm 45 says, gird thy sword upon thy thigh, O most mighty, and with thy glory and thy majesty. And in thy majesty ride prosperously, because of truth and meekness and righteousness. And thy right hand shall teach thee terrible things. Thine arrows are sharp in the heart of the king's enemies, whereby the people fall unto thee. God won the war. 1945, Psalm 45. Now to the victims of the Holocaust, we have this promise in verse 16 of Psalm 45. Instead of thy fathers shall be thy children, whom thou mayest make princes in all the earth. That is, the survivors of the Holocaust are going to go back home to the promised land and become politicians. Verse 17, and I will make thy name to be remembered in all generations. How about that? God says, I will make thy name. That's to the victims of the Holocaust. Listen, hardly a week goes by but what the world is reminded of the Holocaust. That was, even the movie Schindler's List and all the other movies that have been made about it, and various survivors of the Holocaust. They crop up in the news every once in a while to keep the world reminded, lest they forget. I will make thy name to be remembered in all generations. Fascinating. Psalm 45, the conclusion of World War II in 1945. Well, there's more. But when Patty Berry said, what do you think? I thought, I got to get me a yellow pen. I went to my office and I went to Psalm 1 and I started underscoring with the yellow highlighter pen every verse that I thought might be a prophecy until I'd completed all 150. And over the next 3 years, we produced a book that we called Hidden Prophecies in the Psalms. Well, the book is out of print right now. I sorely need to take the time. It's just hard to find the time putting out a magazine every month, but I have every intention of republishing the book just as quickly as I can and updating it, But it's a marvelous study, the Psalms. Hidden prophecies in the Psalms. Think of it. The Psalms happen to be the 19th book from Genesis and the 48th book, counting back from Revelation. Juxtapositioned right at a particular place in the Bible where it is the 19th book from the front and the 48th book from the end, and it is the story of the birth of Israel in 1948. Wow. So get your Bible out, start reading the Psalms. Look into it. See what you can find. I'm J.R. Church. We'll see you again tomorrow with our analysis of the news.